Hello, my name is Taylor Thomas. I do apologize for the static. I know it is a little bit loud, but that's something to do with my computer's mic, so I'll have to fix that soon. I did post a 16-minute video because I didn't keep track of my time, and I just kept going on in information. So this will be a very shortened version, which will be pretty nice. So I am looking into communication with data scientists. So next slide. A little bit of background information on myself is currently a junior. I'm a double major in applied math and computer science and information communication technologies. This summer I will be interning at NASA in Washington, D.C. I will be working with weather satellites and developing flight simulators for them, so I'll be doing a lot of programming and a lot of security behind that. So it'll be really cool. But one of my passions in the career field is data analysis. It's working with complex algorithms for machine learning, artificial intelligence, data mining, all that kind of fun stuff is what I'm just passionate about to no end. So thankfully I was able to interview Chris Magistrata, who I met about a year and a half ago at a conference working with blockchain technology. It was kind of a hackathon sort of event. And we really hit it off. It was really cool. And thankfully we still keep in communication, so I was able to reach out to him and hammer out some time to kind of talk about how he works with communication with what he does. So right now he lives out in California. He works for a company called Assimile. Essentially, they develop a management software for medical devices, so they can kind of better manage the security and the protection, because these are very sensitive equipment. They get into the wrong hands, it can lead to a lot of dangerous things happening. So on the side, he also works with machine learning algorithms, kind of like side contracting, which is really cool. That's where a lot of his experience comes from. And he does give a lot of presentations, so he's very knowledgeable of how to communicate as a data scientist. And he's even going to the famous DEF CON conference and presenting there this August, which would be really neat. So one thing he talked about, and a lot of his experience comes from both Assimile and classes that he took at his old university, went to Georgia Tech, where he talked about how when you're growing up as a technical profession, you realize that you get a lot of this technical jargon coming out of your mouth. And when you get into the workplace, you're taught that, HR and management aren't going to know that kind of information. So you need to really, in a sense, dumb it down. I know it sounds kind of rude. There's better terminology for it. But they're not going to understand a lot of the technical details of what you're working with. So that was kind of something that he thought about before he worked at Assimile. And I was really interested when he got there, is it was the complete opposite. HR and management knew all about, and he could talk about technical jargon up the wazoo. It was really interesting. And it might be because it's more of a startup company. It was very small, so it's more tight-knit. A lot of people are talking, communicating. So you might see this as a different dynamic in larger companies, so it'd be something cool to look into. And one thing he talked about is it's a lot about the who of the conversation. So he talks about different groups of people that you're going to be talking to. One is your kind of direct supervisor, your boss man, the individual who assigns you a lot of your tasks, who does a lot of the mentoring. He or she usually is kind of always in contact with you. And with that, he recommends, it's definitely a very professional relationship. You are not really conversational with them, depending on their personality too. Maybe in private, they are more of a fun, outgoing individual, so you may have some more fun with that. But usually keep it professional, keep it strict. Stick to face-and-face and phone calls. Maybe emails if you need to, if it's important updates or you need to check in on certain things. Another form of group is the other managerial team, which is everyone else, essentially, that is kind of higher than you in the hierarchy of the corporate world. So these people you may not know as well, so he recommends usually face-to-face or email. Sometimes phone calls, but it kind of depends, too. You're not going to have as close a relationship as you do with your direct supervisor. Other people you're communicating is with your teammates, your people you're working with, because you're working on the same project for months at a time. And with this, what's unique is it's okay to use texting and social media. It's totally fine in this situation because you're more conversational. Some people may say no, please don't do that, and that's totally fine. But in most cases, you're going to be spending time with them inside and outside of work too. You might have social gatherings that you hang out with, so it's good to get close with them. And then the other group is clients, your customers. And with this, it also depends on where you're working at. You should typically remain professional. Sometimes your clients are kind of in and out. You see them, and then you never see them again. So you want to make a good impression, show them that you're representing your company very well. Other customers may be more repetitive. You may see them more and more. So you can be more conversational. Share some jokes. Maybe you're meeting every Saturday face to face, so you're going to have a lot more personal time. So it's a really interesting dynamic. And that was kind of the big talk of, who are you talking to know your audience when you're delivering information, to know them, to know yourself. And that was kind of the big topic of that. There's so much more information here. I'm just going to go to my infographic, kind of scroll through this. So types of audiences, talked about that. There's also, you want to talk about asking and answering questions. Do your preliminary research, be open for feedback, constructive and critical. People are going to be mean. Know how to get the good out of that. Then also, how you deliver versus how you're receiving. Make sure you're paying attention to people when they're talking, but also make sure you're receptive and you're pulling in information. If that requires you to take down notes, go right on ahead, but don't write a novel. Other kind of stuff is meetings. You're going to have individual meetings, going to kind of be on the fly, more conversational, versus group meetings, maybe assigned by your boss, kind of set up prematurely. So those are going to be a lot more professional, working with more managers and direct supervisors. So you just have to be careful of that. And then just kind of like how you're communicating is, face-to-face is the prime time. That is what you should use if you can. Otherwise, email, calling, go for it. And then texting, social media, as we said, is only for when you're talking with your teammates, maybe your direct supervisor. And then, of course, Morse code. Don't use Morse code unless everyone knows Morse code. It's kind of pretty fair. In conclusion, it's just kind of like know who you're talking to, know your audience beforehand, especially when you're asking questions or, giving information. Know what you're talking about. Sometimes it's nice to have questions pre-planned. Sometimes it's good to rehearse information that you're giving, because that way it comes off smoother, it comes off more off the tongue. You're not sitting there stammering, trying to think of, what do I need to do? And then finally, know why that information is important. If you think it's important, they think it's important, because you're going to show it with your facial expressions, your gestures, the whole 9 yards. And that's kind of an important key part that I don't think a lot of people, do from what I've seen presentations before in other classes. When going to professional meetings too, a lot of people, you can tell when someone's not passionate about what they're talking about. So I think that's kind of just a good summary of communication with data scientists. If you want more information, go to my 16-minute video. Have fun with that. But this is all. So thank you very much, and have a wonderful night.